everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Real Men of Real Estate. Your host, Thomas Chappell here. I just want to just say it's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to be blessed to be in everybody's presence, just that you can hear my voice on the airwaves. And we're here to talk about real estate and the dynamics of real estate. And for those who are new, wanting to get into this thing called real estate and how do they get into it. I am what you consider an investor. I invest into resale properties. I find them, fix them up, and I resell them. I also keep some as rentals to have rental income. And then also there's some that I wholesale out because, like I tell people, I'm a capitalist and I need all my money. Also, I'm a hard money lender, so if people are looking for money to do new constructions, new development, apartment complexes, long, short-term rentals, as well as fix and flips, you can reach out to me. Also a mentor slash motivational speaker. For those who are wanting to get started or not sure how to get started or not sure how to assess the property or whatever the case may be, feel free to reach out to me. As well as I have a real estate investment club. It's every third Wednesday of the month. It used to be at the Mission Inn, but because of this COVID thing, everything is virtual. So basically every third Wednesday of the month, I'm on Zoom, so you can come and check me out. We have all different types of people that are in the real estate industry, appraisals, hard money lenders, contractors, escrow companies, everything you can think of that can help you in your search for doing real estate. And then also here I have this radio show. And I'm also giving out people opportunities to be able to find out what this thing real estate is all about. I mean, a lot of people are wanting to reinvent themselves basically because of what's going on in the economy and the way the job market is. And it's a good thing to be able to want to start your own business and whatnot and be able to be in control of your own funds. A lot of people want to know how does it work for them. And the biggest thing you have to understand, why. Why would you want to get into this kind of environment? Why do you actually do the things that you do on a regular basis? You always got to have a why in the things that you do in order for you to accomplish. And then you have to turn around and be with like-minded people to understand, hey, I can really do this. I mean, everybody says it's a mindset, and the people don't understand that mindset is you wrapping your mind around doing something that you have no idea what you're doing. So when I talk to people and I mentor them, I tell them, hey, two things: don't use the word try, and don't use the word fear-wise, because you're trying not to fail. And failure is a thing that people look at, but there's no such thing as failure. The question is, how can you fail at something that you've never done before? So you have to have a different way of looking at things from an objective perspective. And a lot of people don't understand that, most people have read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And most people say, oh, it's a mindset, this, that, and the other. It talks about being able to capitalize on your own finances and whatnot. But the thing that I got out of the book was the fact is that it wasn't the fact that his dad was poor. His dad had a PhD, which is the highest education you can get in America. And the only problem is that his dad had capped out, which means is that he couldn't make any more money higher than what that PhD allowed him, where the other dad didn't have any cap out. The other dad had no filter, which means is that he can be able to create a lot of different income streams versus what his dad had. So actually that's what you have to look at, being able to have multiple income streams as well as systems set up. And that's just not in real estate. That's basically in anything that you do. You got to have a system set up to where you can be able to do multiple things that would not affect you. A lot of people say, hey, I got a system set up to where I can just be on my computer for an hour and I got the rest of the day to myself. or I can not only do it from my computer, my desktop, or my laptop, but I can also do things from my phone because the way the systems are set up. So it's very easy. It's just being around like-minded people to understand how to accomplish these things. And that's basically where we at when it comes to real estate. A lot of people do come to these real estate investment meetings. A lot of them don't stay because some of them feel like, okay, I'm seasoned enough. I understand. I think I got it. Or, you know what? These guys are not telling me the truth, and I'd rather just go somewhere where I can just pay for my education. Well, sometimes when you pay for these education things, they don't work out. They just want your money, and then they leave you holding the bag, basically saying, okay, go figure it out. Yeah, they give you the workbooks and all the different material that you need, but if you're not understanding what it is you're doing, it sounds Greek. So it end up being one of those things that you leave on the shelf that collects dust because you really don't want to fool with it because you want it to be instantaneously instead of me have to go ahead and figure this out and work it out and so forth and so on. But if you come to these meetings where all you're paying for is the venue, 20 bucks, if that, some of them are free, and the more you stay, the more you learn. When I started going to these real estate investment meetings, I act like the club was mine. I took it over. I introduced myself to everyone. I told people, hey, why are you sitting down? Get up off the seat, come and mingle. And I introduced them to the organizers of the meetings. And the organizers of the meetings took notice of that and ended up taking notice of that. And I ended up getting a real estate investment club out of it. Wasn't looking to get one, but it happened that way because I took the initiative. I showed up every day. Not only did I show up every day, I started doing things. And people took notice and started saying, hey, I would love to help you out versus me sitting there trying to figure it out myself. And that's the whole point. You have a community that's willing to help you get where you need to go. We don't want your money, we want your brain. A lot of these meetings, they do have boot camps and videos and tapes and books that they're selling, but that's all they're doing is just making money off of you buying their programs where we're not giving you programs. We're giving you information that will be able to get you to the next level. And if you get a little stumped, we will help you break it down to a microscience because you become our billboard. You become our advertiser. Once you do well and we had a part of you doing well, hey, people want to come to us and learn. You know what I'm saying? So there's no reason for us to want to advertise. I mean, not advertise, but there's no reason for us to want to charge you for the knowledge. We'd rather give it to you. Sometimes people get knowledge and they don't do nothing with it when they get it for free. Sometimes people get it and they pay for it and they get it. It just depends on the individual. So the thing of it is that you want to be able to understand what it is you want to do with your life. How can you reinvent yourself? How can you make yourself better? And the one thing is understanding what your why is. Why did you get up this morning? Why did you take a shower? Why did you brush your teeth? Why do you live in the house you live in? Why do you drive the car that you drive? Once you understand your why, then certain things get into perspective and make you understand, hey, I can do anything I put my mind to it. My biggest why is that I was a single dad. I raised my son since he was 6 months old. So it gave me the ability to be in his academic life, that I was there every step of the way. Now that he's 18 going on 19, letting him live his life. But the other thing was I was there to help guide him in his academic career, and that's what I wanted. All the different sports that he played, all the different activities that he had in school, I was there because I know that my mother couldn't be there for me because she worked a lot. So I wanted to give my son what I wasn't able to get when I was a child. Not saying I had a bad childhood, but I played sports, and you always want to see somebody that you recognize up in the stands cheering you on. So that was my particular why. So I didn't want my son, to turn around and become like I was, so therefore he watched me as I progressed in this business. and I gave him a choice to say, hey, you can either do it this way or do it that way. But what the thing is I will support you no matter what it is that you want to do within reason, So we're sitting here waiting on our guest to arrive. We're doing a virtual um, interview, and we're just waiting for him to arrive. So I'm just going to sit here and see if people want to call in and let's chat. The local number here is 909 792 5222. Once again, that's 909 792 5222. Or the toll free number is 888 909 1050. Once again, that's 888 909 1050. I would love to hear some of you guys' ideas and comments until our guest arrived that you have any questions or anything on real estate. So let's talk about real estate investment clubs. Why are they relevant? Well, they're relevant because the fact is that when somebody wants to reinvent themselves and they not sure how to get started, here you are dealing with like-minded people. Some are in the same position that you're in that would like to get started and not sure how to. You have some that's seasoned, that's been doing it for a while, that can nurture you to get started, And the thing of it is that there's no I in team. So the point is that you need someone to help you out to get where you want to go because they have done it. They had some roadblocks that they had or some challenges that they had to meet and whatnot. So that's one of the things we're looking at. So the whole thing is that this is why these clubs are really irrelevant. I got started not sure what I'm doing and what I need to do. So I started going to these clubs, and these clubs saved me. So hold on, we got a call real quick. So hold on. Good
Hello, yeah.
Caller, how can I help you?
Yeah, hello. I have a question for your host.
Yes, sir. This is Thomas. How may I help you?
What's the difference between, let's say, your club and let's say one of them clubs like in L.A. or whatever? I mean, I go to these L.A. clubs and they have a speaker, and by the time the speaker's done, he wants to get in your back pocket and pull out a 20 grand. Then he tells you it's not 20 grand. He's just going to just run up your credit card, so it doesn't cost you any money. So what's the difference?
Well, my difference, I'm sorry to cut you off, but the difference with my club and most of the clubs I go to are non-sales clubs, which means they're not looking to get in your back pocket. We rather give you the information and help you, because that's what happened with me. When I got into this thing called real estate, I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't have any money, and I didn't know how to get started. So I was going to a meeting, and somebody told me to go look up on Meetup. I didn't know Meetup existed. Meetup is like a social media website, but it's not like Facebook. It's not like Instagram. It's basically groups that come together, the meeting of the minds that are interested in the same thing. And basically, that's all they really do. Then there's some sales clubs out there, but mine and others that I am affiliated with, we don't want your back. We don't want to get in your back pocket. We don't need your money. Basically, we want to help you because, like I said earlier, you become my advertisement. You become my billboard. So therefore, why should I have to dig in your pocket? And if you end up becoming successful, you're going to tell everybody hey, guys, I went to this club and these people did this and they helped me get that, and I was able to get my first deal. Whether you turn around and found a deal that you wholesale. So say, for instance, if you don't understand the difference between wholesaling and JV, you turn around and find a property, but you don't have the money to fix up. That's what most people say. I don't have the money to fix it up. I don't have the money to purchase it. So you go find an investor. He end up running his numbers and he see, okay, this is a great deal. he will turn around and buy it for you. Now, on the buy side, you will get paid. So the difference of it is, depending on how long he keeps it in escrow, that's when you get paid. Now what a JV partner is that you guys together and you learn as you go through. The investor might go ahead and purchase the property, pay for the supplies, as well as uh, pay the contractor, fix the property up, and when the property goes back on the market for resale, once it resells, that's when you get paid. So it just depends on how you look at it. Sometimes your JV money is higher than your wholesale money. It just all depends on how the property is structured. But my club is every third Wednesday of the month. Is on Zoom. The meeting is called Black Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. You can go to it on Meetup, or you can go to the website, which is BIEREIC.com. You can go there and check it out. Right now, we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll come back in a minute with more Real Men of Real Estate. Thank you. Gentlemen, to the Real Men of Real Estate. This is your host, Thomas Chappell Jr. And now we have our special guest here ready to go, Mr. Michael Mikhail. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Yourself. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. Want to get started on get right into it, basically because of the time and whatnot. So tell me a little bit about yourself, and then we'll start going into the Q&A part.
Sure. So I'm the founder and CEO of Stratton Equities. We're a nationwide private money and hard money lender. We lend in 43 states at this time, very wide range of mortgage programs, and we specialize in investment financing.
Okay, great. So what about your new investors and how they are getting started?
We work with new investors as well. We have extremely highly trained loan officers, so that helps. The big thing with us is we don't sugarcoat anything. It fits or it doesn't fit. So unlike a lot of other companies, not to name names, they might drag you through. With us, our loan officers are trained in the first 10, 15 seconds to know if the deal might fit, if it qualifies, it doesn't qualify. We have an extremely high conversion ratio on what gets submitted. So we're definitely there and equipped to help new and seasoned investors.
Okay, sounds great. So what makes your business different from other real estate lenders?
A big thing is the programs. I'm very proud of our programs. I've created and structured a lot of our programs. We're actually going to be adding more programs March and April. People boast about rates, but we truly do have phenomenal rates. We have higher LTVs. If you're a real estate investor, you should be much more concerned with the LTVs and the programs and the rates. I bought my first house at 19 years old, and my rate was 24%. That's before you had institutionalized hard money or private money the way that we do now. So, even though people are very rate conscious, you really focus on the program, being able to secure financing and higher LTVs, because generally most new investors don't have enough capital. So by putting down less money, obviously it enables you to do more deals because you're putting down less money with higher LTVs.
Okay. Now, could you do me a favor and elaborate a little bit more for some people that are brand new to this industry and are looking to get started? What would they need to do? What would they need to have? what what would make them want to feel like your company be the best company to come to?
I mean, I'll give you a great example. One of my friends, his son wanted to buy he was 24 years old, wanted to buy a two-family house down the Jersey Shore. And, he went through the traditional, big banks and big mortgage companies, which show for people that are new, regular mortgages, which are called agency, which is also called QM. QM stands for qualified mortgage. So in the QM world, due to the heavy regulation, 1 to 4 family investment properties max generally at 70 LTV. So, what people think, they go to some, very big bank or some very big lender, that it's going to be better for them, which is not the case. So that company offered them 70%. So you got 30% down, then you have your reserves, right? Then you're going to have closing costs. So you're talking about a significant amount of money, especially a property, here on the East Coast. So as I said, I'm friends with the father. This is last summer. They came to me, and we did the loan for the son, and it was 85% financing. Now, granted, the son had a great credit score and everything was beautiful, but it was 85% financing. So if you're a new investor, and most new investors, obviously, because they're new, they don't have as much capital. But it's obviously significantly better to put 15% down than to put obviously 30% down when you're a new investor.
Okay, so do me a favor, explain LTV for those who might not understand what the word means.
Loan to value. So mortgages are based on loan to values. So LTV is loan to value. So how much of the purchase price and how much you're putting down. So if you have $100,000 home, for argument's sake, and somebody's going to lend you 85% LTV, so you're putting down 15% because the lender is going to lend you 85%. If they're going to lend you 70%, then you're putting down 30%. But one thing about a lot of new investors is, I mean, I personally haven't done a loan in some time because I don't do sales anymore, but they don't seem to realize where they need money, right? That, like, when they do their calculations in their head or on paper, they don't understand where they need monies. I'll give you an example. On a fix and flip or a rehab loan, you generally, like with our program, or most programs generally work kind of the same. You're going to need money in 4 places, right? You're going to need a down payment, and people. Actually, let's back up a little bit, talking about new investors. You know how you always see advertisements, right, for like lenders, and
Yes.
then generally, like when you see a car advertisement, people offer like, the best deal at the lowest rates, and they kind of put it together in their head. So when you see an advertisement, and I see it all the time, showing like 90 LTV, and then it shows like the lowest rate, that's the advertisement stating it can go up to 90 LTV, and their rates start at X. For some odd reason, people put those two things together, and they think you're going to get the highest LTV at the lowest rate, and that's not how it works. So obviously, the higher your loan to value goes, the higher your rates are going to go. So when you're doing like a rehab loan or a fix and flip loan, you generally need money into 4 places. So your down payment, and if you're a new investor, most likely you're not going to get the max LTV that they offer, because generally higher LTVs come with more experience, that you've done 3, 4, 5 deals. You're going to need your down payment money, so call it 20%. You're going to need reserves, right? So your reserves are, after, let's say the loan is said and done, and for easy math sake, your payment's $1,000, let's just say. Pre-COVID, we generally needed like three months reserves. So that's 3 months. So after the deal is done, you're gonna need about 3 months of mortgage payments in the bank. Now with COVID, a lot of lenders, including us, we have some programs that are 6 months. We have some programs that require 9 months, because God forbid, when these regulations and guidelines came in place was 2 years ago, when people weren't paying rent. So if you got into a new investment property, the bank, the lender wanted to make sure that you had enough money in the bank in case your tenant didn't pay rent for 6 months. You have enough money to obviously cover the mortgage payment. So you're going to need to have your reserves. Then you need to have your closing costs, which are whatever percent. Generally in a fix and flip, they're higher than in a term loan. So you generally, whatever it is, depending, 3-4%, you'll get closing costs, depending on title, escrow, sometimes even more. And then the big thing they don't realize is draws. So most programs are similar. Some programs work a little different, but like with our program, let's say you have $100,000 rehab budget. you break it up into draws. You can break it up into 5 jobs. So you divide obviously that 100,000 by 5. You can do it into 2. Most people just break it up into 5 to 10. So if you broke it up into 10, that's a lot of work. That's 10 draws. So you have to do the first work, right? Of let's say $20,000 worth of work, then it's a draw. The money gets reimbursed to you. But when people see advertisements that, argument's sake, say 100% of the rehab, in their mind, they assume I'm just going to get 100% of my rehab in one shot. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. You get the money reimbursed to you. It's a draw. So again, if you have a $100,000 rehab budget, you're going to divide it in, let's say, 5 draws. You're going to do the first $20,000 out of your pocket. Then you reach the draw team, you email them or call them, an appraiser comes out, make sure that everything is done to code and everything is done correctly. Then you get reimbursed again, and you keep being reimbursed till the 100,000 is done. So in a rehab loan, you generally need money in 4 places.
Okay, so let's say, for instance, a newbie, as they call themselves, a new investor that's never done a deal, but they found a JV partner. How would that work for them in this industry?
Well, the same thing. I mean, the main partner who's going to be the person that's done more deals, and that's generally how it works with a JV partner. Is the JV partner has done more deals, because what people have to realize, I mean, again, I'm talking about our programs, but most of them are generally structured kind of the same. It's how many deals have you or your LLC that you own been on the HUD for the past 36 months. So, and then you get people that say, well, I did this and I did that. If you're not on the HUD, it doesn't count. So we can't verify if you were a part of a deal, 3 years ago. The only way you can verify it is if you're on the HUD. So you're on the closing statement, you secured financing in the past 36 months for X amount of deals. That's either a purchase or refinance or properties you own. That's what counts as experience. So generally, somebody who's new doesn't have the experience. You would JV with somebody that does have the experience, but then you would be on the LLC. So generally, you would form a new LLC, right, joint with the person who has the experience, and now call it ABC LLC. You start to do deals with this other partner, and now after 3-4 deals, you are attached to 3-4 properties that you've done. Your LLC is attached to 3-4 properties that you've done. Hopefully now we've had profitable deals, and now you have more money in the bank. And then after 3-4 deals, you've learned, and now you can kind of go on your own.
Okay, because see, I have a real estate investment club, which is called Black Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club, and I come across all different types of people in the industry. And one of the main things that a lot of newbies ask is that they sit back and watch these ATD programs, and they say, well, they don't get it. I want you to answer that when we come back from commercial break. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with Michael. Thank you. This is the Real Men of Real Estate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Real Men of Real Estate. I'm your host, Thomas Chappell. We're sitting here talking to our guest, Michael Mikhail. And Michael, I had asked a question before we went to commercial break. What did you think about people that comes to these investment clubs? Because it's going to tie into my next question. So if you can elaborate on that real quick before I go into my next question, I really appreciate it.
Well, I mean, I've never gone to the investment club, so I'm not really sure which ones you're talking about. I mean, I know about them. I've heard about them. I've heard of some people literally spending $50,000 to go
Yes.
to some of these clubs.
Yes.
Do you want my real opinion?
Go for it.
It's bullshit. You
Okay.
know, a lot of them, about not all of them. You know, some of them are good that help people, but if you're paying $50,000 to go learn, listen, the best way to learn something is to do it, right? Like you said, get a JV partner, get into it. You know, get your feet wet, get into it. If you're paying $50,000 to learn, I mean, I bought my first house in 19. I didn't pay $50,000 to learn real estate. Um, it's the same thing I say like about all these, you know, online gurus on social media. If they were so good at what they're doing, they wouldn't be charging people for their get rich quick scheme. So
Exactly.
they would be too busy making money doing what they're doing rather than trying to charge people 150 bucks to buy their whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I don't believe in it.
So with my club is basically I don't charge anybody because same way I felt, when I got started, my mentors took me up under their wing and taught me this business, and by me showing up every day and being active, I was able to learn and get to where I am. So going into my next question here is what's the great way to build a profile doing rental loans?
You mean as an investor to build a portfolio?
Correct.
I mean, again, I see things very differently than most people, right? I mean, you know, we get people all the time that obviously apply, and I actually did an article about this in an interview not too long ago about being a better borrower. And people, you see people like a 400 credit score and no money in the bank, but they're trying to be real estate investors. No, go back, take a step, fix your credit, become a better borrower, right? It's significantly easier to secure financing and to get more successful and get further. You got to realize when I bought my house, I'm 41 next month. I bought that house in, I don't know, 99 or 2000. It was before you had what's called institutional financing, right? Hard money, which is a term we'll talk about, private money, whatever you want to call it. By the way, rental programs are not hard money loans. Let's get this clear. Hard money loans are only bridge loans. There was no institutional financing. So the way you did a deal, 20, 25 years ago was that you found some old rich dude who had money and you had to meet him somehow, and they would just lend on property. So there was no, really underwriting, getting full appraisal and documentation. But that's why the rates were 24%, because you got to realize how rates work. Besides the secondary market and besides the LIBOR and all these other factors which control interest rates are controlled on underwriting. The more underwriting there is in a loan, the safer and more secure that loan is, and then the lower the rates are going to go. The less underwriting a loan has, the higher the rates are going to go. So when you're going to some person who's just giving you money, there's very little of any underwriting, so obviously the rates are going to be significantly higher. Rental programs, which are term loans, right? Term loans, 5/1 ARM, 30-year fix, whatever the case may be. If you want to, is to be a better borrower. Term loans require higher credit scores. You're going to put your down payment down. But again, like my tactic to real estate is very different. I don't care about rental income. I care about chunks of equity. So, I bought a significant amount of property, which I'm not buying anything right now because I think the market's too high. But when I do buy, I buy significantly under market value. I just know how to find them. And then I buy for chunks of equity. So meaning if I'm buying something for, let's just call it, $170,000, the day I buy it, I want that appraisal to read, obviously a legitimate appraisal. I want it to read 300, right? Because I'm buying chunks of equity. That's just always been my tactic. I never cared about rental income. I cared about chunks of equity.
Okay. Okay. Now, you got hard money loans versus fix and flip loans. What's the difference?
Yeah, so I wrote that article for the Scotsman Guide a couple years ago. So a true hard money loan, which everybody, even people in the industry, they all mess it up, is an asset-based loan, which is not necessarily looking at the borrower, right? We have those programs that people don't understand. they max at like 50, 55, 60, 60 is even going high. Call it 55, 60 LTVs where they max. So when somebody comes to you and they say, hey, I want a rental hard money program that doesn't exist, or I want a 90 LTV, right? So normally there's ratios on a fix and flip, right? 90, 100, 75. So 90% of the first lien, right? So the first lien is 90%. So you're putting down 10%, 100% of the rehab, and then 75 of the ARV. We actually go high at 75 ARV. Some companies are 60, 65 ARVs, I'm sure you know. So if you're talking about a loan that has underwriting or significant underwriting and is basing a lot of underwriting on the borrower, like a fix and flip loan, and it's not truly an asset-based loan, then it's not a hard money loan. Also, a rental program is not a hard money loan, right? It's a 30-year or 5-1 ARM. You're talking about rates, 4 or 5%. Clearly not a hard money loan. A hard money loan is only, 3 to 12 months. Could be longer, could be 24 months. It's always going to be a bridge loan, and it's going to be a low LTV, call it 60 LTV max. Sometimes you might find it a little higher, but nothing, 80, 85, 90 LTV. In order to get to 90 LTV, you have to go through a decent amount of underwriting on both the property, the location, the borrower, your assets, your credit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which defines what a hard money loan is. The loan that I got in 1999 or 2000 or whatever it was, that was a true hard money loan. I was 19 years old. I met this guy in Florida, and he lent me money to buy a property. Didn't look at a damn thing that I had, nor did I have anything. But the property had a significant amount of equity in it, right? Which is an asset-based loan. They were basing the loan based on the amount of equity in the property, because you got to understand how this works. And I realized how many people don't know how this works. When anybody lends to you, whether it's the guy down the street or an institutional lender or a major bank, and people don't want to hear this, but the first thing they think of is how can we foreclose, right? Because if you're going to lend somebody money and they don't pay, then you have to foreclose to get your money back, right?
Yes, sir.
That's why we get people that ask us, oh, do you lend in Mexico? Do you lend in Puerto Rico? No, because you can't foreclose in these other countries, or it'd be almost impossible. So when somebody gives you a true hard money loan, like this guy did, if I messed up, he's getting the property. I'm going to default, and he's going to take a property back with tons of equity. Unfortunately, there are a lot of companies, I'm not going to name names, that literally do that. And a lot of investors who've been investing will know what I'm talking about, of companies that lend people money, hoping that they actually mess up, because these investors are finding good deals, or at least they used to before the market skyrocketed. And then when people default, it's an investment property, right? So it's not an owner-occupied property. Depending on your state, you can foreclose relatively quickly on an investment property and the commercial property, because it's not owner-occupied, you're not living in it. So it's not mandatory to have an investment property, so you can foreclose fast. But that's how it works. They think of how can we foreclose and how fast can we foreclose, and that was a big reason to the crash we had and the problems we had in 2008, 9, and 10, because the market crashed. People weren't paying for their mortgages. And then I personally know people, I'm sure you do too, that lived in a home for 10 years and didn't pay a mortgage. What people don't understand is that money. So let's say you're a lender and you have $1 billion line of credit, because this is how this works on lines. And you lent out $500 million. And all of that is foreclosed upon. And you can't foreclose on that property to get that money back. You're gone. Your company's bankrupt and you're belly up, because you can't replenish that money. So one of the reasons why we even have the kind of private money, et cetera, kind of financing that we do these days is because they're on investment and commercial properties. If somebody that doesn't make their payments on an investment property, and you got to realize that rates and guidelines are different depending on what state you're in. States that you can foreclose faster literally have lower rates than states that you can't foreclose as fast. It could be by 1 or 2 points or 1 or 2% in that state, because the lender has to make up the difference on ratios of all these other properties that, God forbid, they have to foreclose on, that it might take them an extra 6 months to a year to get their money back. So they across the board have higher rates in those states to offset, their foreclosure rates.
So if I came to you and says I'm brand new off the boat and I'm not sure exactly what it is that I'm doing, would I be considered a good candidate, or would you say, well, you know what, you need to do this, and then come back to me?
Well, I mean, again, I haven't done a loan in years. I have a full sales team that does it all. But I mean, again, if somebody qualifies, they qualify. It doesn't matter who, what, when, or how. They qualify, they qualify. Um, generally, the issue is, like I said, is generally people that are new don't understand what it takes and the amount of money they need. Like you'll get people every day like, I have $10,000 and I want to buy a $400,000 house. Well, that's not going to happen. So you have to. They don't realize where they need money and how much money is needed. Like a lot of people come to the investment world and they see the advertisements for FHA loans. 3.5% down, whatever. Obviously, that doesn't correlate into the investment world. We have the highest LTVs that I know of. Generally speaking, I'm sure your listeners can agree. If you go out to the market and you're trying to find a term loan, which is a rental property loan on a purchase, you're generally maxing at about 75 LTV. We have programs on a term rental loan at 85 LTV. Used to be 80. Recently, we picked it up to 85, but very high credit scores, over 740 for that. But yeah, some they generally don't understand where they need money and how much money they need.
Okay. We get ready to take our final break. We're going to come back and wrap it up with our guest here. So appreciate you. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real Men in Real Estate. I'm your host, Thomas F. Chappell Jr., with our special guest, Michael Mikhail. Michael, I really appreciate you giving us the time and your insight. If you can give me, if anything else you want to add before we wrap up, I really appreciate it.
Well, when we had our conversation a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about, entrepreneurship. We're talking about success. We're talking about what it really takes to become successful. I definitely enjoyed that conversation that we had. So if you wanna talk about that a little bit, I'm more than happy to.
Yeah, give me a brief. We got a couple of minutes left, so give me something brief on you and your company and how people can reach you if they want to test the waters with your company.
So on the website, StrattonEquities.com. We literally have a full sales team that is there Monday through Friday. So we get back to people very quickly if they pull in, leads, because we have different campaigns from the website. People can apply, they can call in, they can email us. More than happy, again, the company was designed to help entrepreneurs. It was designed to help real estate investors because, and this is a whole nother conversation, after the heavy regulations of 2008, 9, and 10, it was almost impossible to buy investment properties because banks, I'm sure your listeners know, don't like lending on investment properties. So 2011 and 12, this whole different world of private money kind of came about. And now we are where we are now. The rates were significantly higher in 2012 and 13 when we all started. But they don't like banks and credit unions don't like lending on investment properties. So this whole world of private money and companies like Stratton Equities all came about literally due to the heavy regulation over 10 years ago.
Okay. Here's one question I want to ask you.
Sure.
You got started at the age of 19. Let's say someone at 18, 19 years old wanted to go down the same path that you did to get it started in this business. What would you tell them to encourage them to follow their dream?
Again, I bought my first house at 19 and a long time. And then I got into the mortgage industry in 2003, 2004. And then, that was my focus for years. And then I got back into real estate. The thing is now it's, as I said, institutional financing. And institutional financing, you have to qualify, right? You have to have the credit score, you have to have the background, you have to have the liquidity. It's very different. If you're 18, 19 years old, the way I'm sure most 18, 19 years old don't have, much in their credit or bank account, you would have to not come to institutional lenders. Like if you look at, like my company and other companies, unfortunately, I hate to say it, if you don't qualify, you don't qualify. I got my break over 20 years ago because I found non-institutional financing, which does exist. There are people out there, that exist, that I'm sure you can find them online, where you're not going to a lender, but it's somebody that'll JV with you. You find the deal, you do, as I would say, the grunt work, and then they're gonna, lend the money, and they're gonna kind of show you the ropes. Definitely, if you're a younger person, unless you have great credit score and a ton of money in the bank, most institutional lenders, it's just not going to be the way to go. You would try to find somebody who you can partner up with, who can mentor you, who has the capital available, and who's not going to go through underwriting and go, okay, we found a great deal, great, let's go do it.
Appreciate that, ladies and gentlemen. I just definitely want to thank our special guest here for taking the time out. For those out there in the radio land and video land, if you do want to get more information, you can reach out to me. My number is area code 404-844-1828. Once again, that's area code 404-844-1828. Or you can email me at first name, last name, 33@yahoo.com. Once again, that's THOMAS, C like Charles, H like Harry, A like Apple, P like Paul, P like Paul, E like Edward, L like Larry, 33@yahoo.com. Go to my website, which is BIEREIC.com, or you can go to meetup.com and look for Black Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. Just because it's black don't mean that all is not welcome. We every third Wednesday of the month, and we give out these nuggets for you to become successful and follow your dreams. We thank you for listening. Continue to support the Real Men of Real Estate, and we'll talk to you again.